Well, hey guys, I am Lynn Hanson, and I'm one of the pastors at North Park Church in Columbus, and glad to be sharing with you in our life groups this week. Guys, we're starting a new series called Promise, and man, I'm excited about what God is going to do in this series. It's all about the power to escape the grip of evil. And let me tell you, in this world, evil has a grip. And in some of our lives, evil has a grip. You know, you hear about the choices that people make and they blow it, and I blow it, whatever. And the reason we do, every single time, the reason we blow it is because we went forward on feelings. Another word for feelings is desires. And we literally are hooked on our feelings. We're hooked on our desires. And that's the theme song. If you look up our video on YouTube or on our www.insidenp.com, you'll see that the theme song for this series, Promise, is hooked on a feeling. And it's because we're always moving forward on feelings, urges, cravings. You know, I wanted to, I felt like it, I followed my heart, I was afraid, so I fill in the blank. You know, the problem is that we're doing things on feelings when God's word never says that you and I should be moving forward or living on feelings. In fact, it says the righteous will live by faith. People who are right with God live by faith, not by feelings, but by faith. And so there is an alternative to living on these feelings. Key verse, 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 through 4. Listen carefully to me. Write this down. Write it in your margin there so that you can look it up and hang on to it. It says, by His divine power, God has given us everything we need for living a godly life. We've received all of this by coming to know Him. And then he goes on to say, because of His glory and excellence, He has given us very great and precious promises. These are the promises that enable you to share His divine nature and escape the world's corruption caused by human desires. Desires, feelings, right? Well, we want to escape the corruption of the world, but you know, oftentimes it seems like, or it feels like, we can't, because the corruption around us is everywhere. Everywhere we go, there's pressure on us to fall into that corruption, and these human desires that we have, they win out. Well, God says there's a way to win over those desires, to actually have victory over them, and that is His promises. That's the way that we can win over our desires. Now, we're going to start this series in our life groups, and we're going to look at we're going to look at a very old promise from God. A promise that He made to Abraham way back in the book of Genesis, the beginning of everything. And Genesis covers a lot of history. But at chapter 12, at chapter 12, we start to see this guy Abraham who comes along. And Abraham is known as the father of faith. And you'll see why in the story today that he is called that. And one of the neat things about Abraham that I love so much is he was called the friend of God. And he had this relationship with God where they were just buds, you know, they were good friends. And man, I love that. I just love my relationship with God. I love the fact that I can be God's friend. Now, there are three components to storying, and I'm going to read you the story here from the Bible. And then somebody in your group's going to set down their notes, retell that story from memory as best they can, and everybody else is going to fill in the blanks, whatever they missed, you're going to add into the story. So we're going to get God's Word into our hearts, into our minds. And here we go. Let's look at Genesis chapter 12, and we're going to look at the first 9 verses of Genesis chapter 12. Well, the Lord had said to Abram, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. So Abram left as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he went out from Haran, and he took his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there. Abram traveled through the land as far as the great tree of Moreh in Shechem. At that time the Canaanites were in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there he went on toward the hills of Bethel, and he pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. He built an altar to the Lord. He called on the name of the Lord there. Now, go ahead and retell that story, and afterward everybody else rebuild the story. Go ahead, please. All right, what we have now is some discussion questions. Question number one is simply this. What did God promise to Abraham? What was the promise that he made? Now, dig deep on this. Let's not have any surface answers because it's easy just to answer from the surface. But what is God telling you? What did God promise Abraham? Go ahead and talk about that, would you please? All right, question number two. What did Abraham do in response to God's promises? What did Abraham do in response to God's promises? Go ahead and talk about that, would you please? All right, super. Question three. Here we go. This is getting personal. What has God promised you? What has God promised you? Go ahead and talk about that, would you please? All right, great. Well, question number four, you probably saw this coming. What is God asking you to do in response to the promises that He's made to you? What is God asking you to do in response to His promises to you? Go ahead and talk about that, please. All right, guys, let's bring this home now. Question number five. Considering what God is teaching you in your life group this week, is there something that you can do, some adjustment that you can make that would better allow God to keep His promises to you? I mean, is there some adjustment you can make, something you need to do in your life to be in a better position to receive the promises that God has made to you? Pray about that a minute and go ahead and share with your group if you would, please. Well, guys, that's your life group, and I'm so glad that you're part of a group. I know that God is going to provide a lot of growth because you are. God bless you. I'll see you soon.